Hey, Tim here again with Expert Power Wash. We're a pressure wash and soft wash store out here in the Portland, Oregon area. We build a lot of equipment. As you can see, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We have over 400 videos out on the different types of builds that we do. Also have some help videos that'll help you guys in the pressure wash and soft wash industry. All right, let's take a look at this 8-foot workhorse skid that we just built. All right, let's get into this one. So this one is built for Eric in California. So this is, again, an 8-foot skid. This goes into the back of a truck. We do recommend a larger truck if you can swing it with your budget. F-250s, F-350s, 2,500, 3,500 trucks are kind of the sweet spot for these. This is for the professional that is expanding their pressure washing business, or if you're looking for something to kind of start out the right way, this is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache and kind of shortcut your way to getting your pressure washing business going. All right, let's start the pressure washer here. So this is one of our custom built pressure washers. We do sell some off the shelf type of machines, but we prefer to use these super high quality custom machines on all of our builds. So as you can see, this is the GX 690. So that's what the engine is based off of, and this is an electric start. This is 8 gallons a minute, 3,500 PSI. And when I say custom, take a look at the base plate there. So this is 1/4-inch aluminum, super thick, super high quality aluminum base that we put these machines on. Another reason why we like these gear drive systems is they're very compact. So if you go to the back of the skid, this is kind of the back, how it would sit in a truck. You could simply walk up to the pressure washer, turn it on, and get rolling. Look at how compact this is from the side. So what makes these a little bit different than your typical belt drive machines is this one has a gearbox. So that is this piece here that goes between the engine and the pump. This will suck water out of the buffer tank even if the water level is below the pressure washer. Obviously we have it mounted up here on the shelf and it pulls water like a champ. So we use the General TSF 2021 pump. This is a tried and true pump. It's been around for a long time and it's one of those items that just works. Talking about more of the customizations of this pressure washer, this has the actual Honda exhaust. A lot of off-the-shelf machines that you'll see will have that gray or solid type looking exhaust. That is an aftermarket exhaust. With this exhaust, you'll actually get a little bit more horsepower. I don't know all of the specs, but I hear it's about a horsepower or 2 from talking with manufacturers. Another customization here that we've done with this machine is you typically see an unloader here, and off-the-shelf machines usually have that cheap VRT3 unloader with a little black top. You twist it. What we've done here is we've relocated it, so we got some parts and fittings. This is 1/2-inch hose, and then it goes down to the pulsar unloader. So this is a flow-sensitive unloader, so when you pull the trigger of the gun, it's not going to jolt in your hand. You're also not going to have a big pop of pressure when you pull the trigger. That's super important if you're working on a ladder or you're working in a corner, you're cutting in. As soon as you pull that trigger, it's going to burst out all that pressure. It's kind of like a pressure burst. With this one here, when you pull the trigger, it softly releases the pressure and kind of builds up. So it's about 1 or 2 seconds. It's pretty quick, but you don't have that abrupt spurt of pressure when you pull the trigger. You can see that we have this block mounted. Another good reason to take this unloader off the machine is vibration. Sometimes this is a brass head. It can wear this off, things can break, and then you're gonna have maintenance concerns there on the end of the pump. So this is a super high quality unloader. These typically go for about 300 bucks. You don't see a lot of builders putting these on builds because like they're focusing on a budget, I'm focusing on quality. So if there's something that's better, I've spent a lot of years out in the field. We've ran these machines. We've run a lot of different combinations of pressure washing setups. And from all that experience, this is what we came up with. So again, block mounted. You can see how it flows off the back. Let me get a closer shot here. Everything is super high quality. We even have quick connects here. So if this whip line burst, you can simply disconnect that with the stainless steel quick connects and hook up your pressure washer hose straight to the back of the machine there. And you'll see as we get around this skid, all the little extra knickknacks and additions. You know, we have the stainless theme kind of going around through the whole skid, and I'll show you that over on the other side as we get to that part. Just a beautiful machine, works very well. We'll go on over to the fuel tank here. So this is our EPW slim fuel tank. You can see how it just tucks into the upright right there. That gives you a ton of bed space. So most guys that are out in the field are going to need to take things to the job site. We've seen other builds where there's a shelf here, or the back of the skid is completely loaded with equipment. We've built a few skids with hot machines in the back, but this is going to hit about 90% of the type of jobs that you need to do. We prefer, in our personal business, if we're going to use hot water, we're just going to pull a little hot water trailer. This will, like I said, will get you 90% of the things done that you need to get done. Let's take a closer look at the fuel tank here. So this does have an additional port right here that we have plugged currently. So if you wanted to add a second machine, you can just simply take that plug out and add another fuel barb and run that to your machine. Also have a rollover valve. So this was adapted from NASCAR. It is exactly as it's described, rollover. So if this tank gets jostled around or you're going over bumps, what most people will do is just grab another fuel barb right here and then vent the tank. The tank does have to be vented, but there's a right and wrong way to do it. So this is the right way. As the fuel splashes up, it pushes up the little ball that's in that rollover valve, and it stops the fuel from leaking out. But it also allows the tank to vent. All right, let's take a closer look on this side. So that tan piece right there, that is the filter. So any of the water that's being pulled into the pressure washer, we have it filtered. That is an 80 mesh stainless steel filter that we have in there. Simply screw the bowl off the bottom and you can easily rinse that out and maintenance it. Again, everything is super easy to get to. Let me back up here. So if you needed to get into the skid and work on things, you would simply just get into the skid. You can do oil changes, you can maintenance your filter, you can get back here to the pump, because it's pretty common that you'll have to change pumps in our industry. You're spraying bleach, which is corrosive. We have this set up to where if you just pushed on the pump, because you have rubber feet here, you push on this side, these are flange nuts that'll allow it to unscrew there from that plate, and then you can simply change out the pump. All right, let's take another look around the skid here. Going on down to the bottom here, we have a 1-inch drain hose. You can fill buckets with this. You can use it as an eye wash station, and of course to drain your tanks, so you're not carrying around a bunch of extra weight on your truck between jobs. We got our apple suds down here. Just a little quick side note about this stuff. This stuff is fantastic. So we've been using this stuff out in the field. It's tested. It's very popular out here on the West Coast. This stuff is very concentrated, so it's a 5X, 4 to 1. Add 4 gallons of water to 1 gallon of soap. So this 5-gallon container right here will make 25 gallons. This is going with the skid to Eric. This is our soft wash soap used for roof cleaning and house washing. It also has a bleach booster in it. And then one of the most important things with soap is it has to be bleach stable. There's even some soft wash soap sold in our industry that is not bleach stable. So if your soap's not bleach stable, it doesn't work well for downstreaming. So if you're not familiar with what downstreaming is, do some research, check that out. Basically, you can use your pressure washer to spray soap at lower dilution rates. It works great for house washing and a lot of other things. So that is our soap. We can use it in the bleach. It can boost the bleach. Do a lot of cool things with this soap here. All right, let's go on over to the reel side. Actually, before we get to that, this is our surface cleaner rack. So this holds the Whisper Wash 19-inch Classic. It's one of our favorite surface cleaners. It's super high quality, works well, cleans good, completely rebuildable, aluminum handle, just all around high quality. There's other cheaper surface cleaners that you can get, but that's the one that we prefer. All right, let's go on over here. This is a Titan electric 18-inch reel. We got 200 feet of 1/2-inch soft wash hose on here, and of course we're using the Soft Jet by Fierce Jet. This is really nice, high quality hose. It's rated for 300 psi. Obviously our pump's only putting out about 100 psi, so way overrated. Super flexible. It works well for going up and down across roofs. You got crimped fittings on here. This is a stainless steel crimp. This one little piece now is going for 40 or 50 bucks. So Then you got a nice little swivel here on the end. Those do corrode up. We recommend cutting that and crimping it every 1 to 2 years or so to keep everything flowing good. You got the ST510 soft wash gun. This is a really nice gun, works well, sprays good. And then we have the nozzles. These are all stainless steel holder. These are all matched perfectly to the pump. There's a lot of different variations I see people trying to use on these pumps. We've built over 100 setups, and I think we got this pretty dialed in. We got the perfect size nozzles on there. You got a 0 degree, 15 degree, 25 degree, and of course a 40 degree. And if you look on the end, like I said, we're using all stainless. So this is a stainless steel quick connect on here. Super high quality stainless. That's another thing too. Not all stainless is created equal. So make sure if you're buying stainless steel fittings, you get it from a reputable dealer. There's a lot of stuff coming out of China that is pretty rough looking. The bearing system in them, the coupler that connects is just garbage. So we see a lot of that stuff in the industry, unfortunately. We build a lot of this stuff, so we've gone through all of the hard work for you to source and find the best possible parts that we can find. All right, next to that hose reel here, this is the Flow Pro. This is really one of those things that I think is a must-have on a skid. We got it on our own personal trucks, and we've used it for a lot of years. This is made by Judd West with Flow Pro Solutions. We've got the upgraded aluminum mounts now. These used to be 3D printed, like a high impact plastic, but that has now been upgraded to aluminum. Of course, this is stainless. And if you look at the back here, this is all stainless. Got a high quality chemical injector in here. That's made by EnviroSpec, the super sud sucker. So that injector alone is near $100. So a lot of nice little upgrades that are on this skid. You can see everything's all neatly ran. So here is the other side of that whip line that runs into the back of the pressure washer. We have it all neatly ran all the way across the bar into here. You notice that this is on a quick connect, and this is maybe overkill. We could have just hard plumbed this into the reel. But again, if you wanted to hook up your pressure washer hose to this and completely bypass the reel, you can do that. Speaking of bypassing the reel, when you hook up your Flow Pro, obviously you would hook into that. So this comes off of here and then hooks into the back of the Flow Pro. The next reel here, this is another Titan Electric 18-inch reel. This has 200 feet of the Fierce Jet pressure washing hose. This is our favorite stuff. We've been using this stuff for a lot of years in the industry. And if you look, let me show you over here. This is other pressure washing hose, Fierce Jet. We could barely keep it in stock. Guys love it. It's good stuff. Works very well. It holds up to heat. It's rated higher, has a higher burst rating. Let me see if I can show you some of the ratings here, if I can get the camera to focus. It's rated at 4250. And then what's really cool is it has a burst rate of 10,625. And then of course you can see it's rated for 310 degrees. So it can be used with hot water. It's gray, non-marking. There's other gray non-marking stuff out there, but it has a wrapped braided jacket to it. This is nice, really nice smooth jacket. It holds up really well when you're pulling it around houses and landscaping and all the different obstacles that you encounter out there when you're washing. And then down here we have a high quality Mossmatic ball valve swivel system here. This is the Authentic DN10. Again, this is another item I see floating around in our industry. Unfortunately, if you're just trying to get something like this on Amazon, or you're getting it from somewhere that's not really a reputable supplier, this is one of those things that is often copied. So we see them come into the shop all the time. New guys getting started in the industry, they bought something that says DN10, and it is completely different. One of the tall tale signs that you'll notice on some of those knockoff ones, it'll be a real shiny surface to it instead of kind of a dull nickel plated brass. Again, you'll see on here we have a stainless steel male connection, stainless steel female. That's another little note here. I'm very meticulous on how we set these up. A lot of guys will run a female end on the end of their hose connections, so their gun will have the male connection. When you run it like that, One, you don't get a real nice rinse pattern when you're ball valving, and that's a whole nother subject. And then also, when you're leading with your, let me pull this off here. When you're leading with your female, pardon the bad camera angle, but it's the only way to really show you. So when you're spraying this side, or you're pushing all your fittings this way, there's a little O-ring in there. So your water flow is actually going against the O-ring, and it'll actually slow your water, probably not a whole lot, honestly, but you will have a lot more O-ring issues than, of course, if you're trying to spray the ball valve this way versus this way. It's just you get a way nicer pattern coming straight out a male nozzle versus the female. And of course, you're going to blow O-rings. I can tell you, in our years of washing, I've probably went through just a handful of O-rings. There's guys that run the female end facing forward, and they go through tens, if not close to 100 in a season. So just a little tip that'll help you. Again, if you're not buying something from us and you're setting up your equipment and you're using this kind of as an informational video, that'll help you reduce one of those little headaches that people often go through. A lot of this stuff, you don't really know it until you spend years out in the industry. That's just one of those things. When we build a piece of equipment, we're going to make sure that it's set up and built properly. All right, going over to the last reel here. This is a 12-inch electric Titan reel. This has the garden hose. We're using a larger ID hose on here. So this is 3/4 ID, 100 foot. We always like to use the least amount of hose possible when you're sending water into your buffer tanks. You're going to have better water flow. It's going to flow faster, obviously. So this is 100 feet, 3/4, and then it's coming out of the swivel here. So as it comes up through here, it goes into a Hudson float valve. As the water fills into the tanks, the water level will rise. It'll push up on the bottom of that Hudson float valve, automatically shut off your water, so you don't have to worry about any overflow issues. One thing I didn't mention on these reels, super important to make sure that, again, if you're trying to build something out like this yourself, I commend you. Took us a lot of years to get to this point, a lot of trial and error, but maybe just to help you and kind of shortcut some of the headaches that I see guys go through. They'll use, I'm not going to mention any brands, but there's a lot of painted, plated hose reels out there. They're all steel. So you'll notice these are all aluminum. These are full frame aluminum reels is what they're referred to. But if you get one of those painted ones or powder coated ones, those tend to wear out pretty quick and they fall apart because bleach is a corrosive. So you're going to get bleach, you're going to get overspray on your equipment. And if you're using something like that, honestly, guys, it's just going to fall apart. You'll notice here we have a stainless steel swivel. This is the manifold. This is where the liquid is transferred from the hose reel and then out. This manifold part right here on those cheaper reels, they're not going to spend the money to make sure that that is stainless. They're trying to hit a price point. They're luring in a lot of guys with that price point over quality. And honestly, when you go that route, that little bit of money that you saved on that cheap hose reel, you're going to end up spending it again as you upgrade it into, a real hose reel, like something like this. So again, just a little free tip there to help you out. It's just one of those little things if we're going to put together a piece of equipment, we're going to make sure that it's built right, and you're going to be set up to actually go out there and make money and get jobs done without having to constantly work on your equipment. This right here, this is the downstream rinse valve. So there's a downstream injector that way on the Flow Pro, and then it goes into this three-way. So one runs into the chem tank, and then one runs into the water tank. So this is not a shut-off. It simply just tells the injector where to pull from. So if you want to pull chem, you pull chem. Well, why would you want to pull water through a chemical downstream injector? It's simple. You want to make sure that thing is rinsed out after every job. So on the last rinse, you would keep your soap on and then simply come over to your truck, turn out the water. That's going to run a bunch of clean water through your chemical downstream injector. It's going to rinse out all that bleach, and your downstream injector is going to last a lot longer. Again, I don't see guys put this on rigs. Not really sure why, but it's just one of those necessities. You will go through chemical downstream injectors quite frequently, because again, bleach is a corrosive. It's going to kill everything that it touches. You see the Flow Pro all mounted up neatly up here. The wires all neatly ran. This is nice and high so you can see it from a distance. Obviously, when the light is on, you're on chem. When the light's off, you're on rinse or water. Here's a look at the back of the tanks. You can see how everything is all ran neatly. Speaking of tanks, let me show you how we have the tanks set up on this pressure washing skid. So we got 2 tanks for water. So those are connected at the bottom. I'll show you that in just a second. And then of course you have a large capacity bleach tank. Typically don't need 100 gallons, but if you're doing a large commercial project, you're able to carry extra chemical with you. So you're able to get those larger jobs done. There's a look at the side of the drain hose. You can see how we have the tanks connected down there. We're using super high quality banjo fittings with Tiger Flex hose. Then of course, super high quality clamps. These clamps actually come out of the UK. They're quite expensive, but again, it's just one of those little upgrades. If we're gonna build a piece of equipment, we're gonna make sure that it is built right for you and it's not gonna fall apart. One thing I didn't mention is the actual skid base itself that everything is built onto. So you'll commonly see these things bolted together. Everything is gusseted, extra heavy duty. So let's take a look down here. So this is a gusset, and then if you look back there, that wasn't just enough to put that plate on. There's 1/4 inch square tube underneath that, welded on every part that it can possibly be welded on. Now, one drawback of this skid, it has a lot of pluses, but one drawback is without it being bolted, it's not really convenient to ship. And I think that's why a lot of suppliers will have those bolt together skids. We had one come into the shop a couple months ago, and I simply grabbed onto it and I was able to shake it and the whole skid swayed. If it doesn't sway right away, it eventually will. Those bolt holes with the bumps and wear and tear will eventually get loose. We don't prefer to build it like that. Not a fan of that type of design. Not putting anybody down really that does it that way, but just not the way that we do it. So you can see the welds. This is welded by a former welding school instructor. So these are not amateur people that we have in our shop paying them by the hour to weld these things up. We pay our guy by the skid. There's a lot of precision. There's a lot of time that goes into putting these things together before we ever put a single piece of equipment on here. So very important. We call this thing a workhorse for a reason. It is like a tank. It's built. So again, drawback is they're not very convenient to ship. Most of the guys that are buying these are buying a full setup. That's really the best way to do it. We do sell a lot of these skids to some of the local guys. Even guys from California will drive up and grab these from us. But as you take a look around the skid, it is, just like I said, it's built like a tank. All right, start at the back here. I guess this will be towards the front of the truck as the way that it sits on the truck. This is our EPW box. This is a solid, this is not that Amazon one, that brand that starts with an A that I see a lot of guys using out there. This is made in the USA. It's a lot thicker aluminum, super heavy duty. It locks, really nice mechanism in here. Long time ago, I bought one of those boxes from Amazon on a flatbed when we were just running our own business and not building. And the thing was like paper thin aluminum. You really don't know until you get a box like that. But these things, like I said, these are nice. Super high quality, made in the USA, heavy duty. All right, you can tell I love the boxes that we use. All right, next item here, this is the 7-gallon soap tank. So this is where you'd put that apple suds that I showed you there on the front of the skid. Again, the cool thing about our soap, put about 1 gallon or so in here and then fill the rest with water. Usually you're good to go. All right, going down to the mixer. So this is our Pro Mixer XL. There's a lot of upgrades on here. There's a lot of nuts and bolts like I'm mentioning around this skid. And I apologize for the long video. There's just so much to cover. Make sure you guys understand what we're building out here in the Portland, Oregon area. So we're using Chemline valves. These are really nice valves. And then the check valves here. So this stops the flow from backfilling into your tanks. So check valve here, check valve there, and a check valve there. So these have the super high quality Hastelloy springs in them. It's typical because it costs a little bit less that a lot of people will use the ones with stainless. And stainless is good, and it's all we had. a while ago, and now these are out. So these are Hastelloy. They're going to be a lot more chemical resistant than the stainless. So a little upgrade like that. We'll make those upgrades and make sure that, again, we have the best possible equipment on these skids that we build, even down to the hoses. These are all Curie-Tech. This is not hardware store poly braid hose. I'm sure you guys that have used that stuff, the stuff's a bear to work with. It's junk. It's hard to plumb with it. The clamps, these are all Dixon clamps. So I'll give you the part number. Again, if you want a little tip, they're HSS clamps. And a lot of the clamps that you get on Amazon or department stores, it'll be classified as a stainless steel clamp because the band itself is stainless, but the screw is actually a zinc plated screw. And you'll notice that if you look around, those screws will rust out and they'll start to look pretty hideous on your equipment. They just don't hold up very well. The threads will start to deteriorate with the bleach. So again, that's just it's down to the hose clamp, making sure that we're using the best possible stuff, the right stuff. Another thing I didn't talk about is the hardware. In previous builds, when we first started building these things, we were using a 304 stainless steel hardware, which is good hardware, nothing wrong with it. It's a huge upgrade over the regular steel hardware, nuts and bolts. But we switched everything out to 316 stainless now. So better hardware, better hoses, better clamps, you name it. Whatever we can upgrade on this thing, our goal is to make sure that we're building the highest quality skid that we can possibly build for you guys. We're very proud of what we do out here. We have a great team here at Expert Power Wash, and everybody is engaged to what we're doing. We've built our business on helping people, and we will continue to do that. And one of the ways that we do that is making sure that we're putting good equipment out there for you guys. So that is the mixer. There's the pump there. Again, another thing we see people cut corners on is they'll use the regular RV Remco pump. It's a lot cheaper. If you look at our pump, we sell that pump for I think $249, $259, something like that. That is the dual control pump. So it works like an internal bypass. Basically, it runs a lot smoother. It's a lot more stout, has a commercial 90-day warranty on it, which we've not really seen that from pump manufacturers before. But it's just a really nice overall great pump, shoots good. Even the 5.3 is just a little bit less than what the 7-gallon pump shoots. They both fantastic pumps. One more thing to show you here on the front of the mixer. So this is our rinse out valve. Again, that's one of those things where, just like the downstream rinse out valve, I think is an absolute necessity to have on your skid. What I see a lot of guys do is when they go to rinse out their pump to get all the bleach out of it, they'll turn this off. Obviously, you turn your soap off because you don't want the soap on when you're rinsing, and then they're just running water. So the pump is basically sucking from one leg, and it's rinsing this side out that already has water in it. Obviously, it's going to push the bleach out of the manifold block. But what are we doing about all this? Our bleach is pretty hot that we sell here. It's like 13%. What are we doing about all the bleach that's in this side of the mixer that just sits in there and never gets rinsed out? Well, that's where this rinse out valve. So obviously, if you were like spraying a house or something, on the rinse out, you would turn this all the way on. It's on water now because that's what we had it on for testing, but this would typically be up. That allows this side right here to pull chemical. And then when you want to rinse it out, turn this to water. That way you're pulling water through here, you're pulling water through here. So the pump's going to be able to, lack of a better way to explain it, it's going to be able to flow better because you're pulling out of more than one leg of the mixer. Obviously the soap's off, it's a neutral pH, it's not going to cause you any problems, but you want to get the bleach, as much bleach as you can out of the system. It's going to prolong the pump and help it last a lot longer. That's not a cheap three-way valve there. We're using a banjo valve with stainless steel mounts, and of course the 316 stainless steel clamps and hardware on that thing. All right, I think that's about it. Again, this is a long video, but I want you guys to understand what we're building out here. We're not building cheap. The most important thing when we build something like this is quality. A lot of new guys getting into the industry, they're shooting for a price point, and there's a lot of other cheaper skids out there. I'm sure you can find something that will fit the price point that you're looking for. Unfortunately, you need to start unraveling what's on it. You know, what's the quality of parts? How is it built? We had somebody ask if we can match the price of another builder. Their skid was made out of 1/8 inch aluminum. Ours is 1/4 inch. It's really hard to match something that when we're using double the thickness of aluminum. But appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll put all my contact information down below in the description. We got a bunch of videos on the channel here, so if you're interested in professional pressure wash and soft wash builds, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. We check and answer those as frequently as we can. But if you have a nuts and bolts question, or you really want to learn more about these skids, let's jump on a call. We do have a calendar. We do build discovery calls for anybody that wants to learn about our equipment. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. Have a great day.